Welcome back to my channel. So I'm holding my iced coffee for dear life, like it's what's needed today. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Amelia. I upload book content such as reading vlogs, reading wrap-ups, stuff like that, you name it. And before we get into this video, if you do enjoy that kind of content, now please give this video a thumbs up, please comment down below, please subscribe. I really am working so hard on my channel this year. Like I feel like I say this a lot. I'm just saying I am working really hard on my channel this year. I think like this year and last year, like I've really stepped up my game with like being consistent and actually working hard, because before I was like uploading, but it was very not sporadic. Like I had a set day, but it would not always be every week, because I was always like working a lot and it just took over my life, or uni, and I had other things to preoccupy me that I didn't have a set upload. And I would literally have a set upload. I haven't missed an upload. I don't remember the last time I missed an upload. And like I even get surprise ones like this. This is going to be a midweek upload, because I don't actually need to film it, but I wanted to. So I feel like I'm doing well, I'm working hard, and I'm trying my hardest. So if you do enjoy this kind of content and you want a new booktuber to follow, please, would love it if you come along and join me. Shamelessly self-promoting myself here, but like try my hardest, you know. Anyway, we've got iced coffee. It's needed today. It's a hot summer day and it's sunny. And I thought, why not film this video that I tried to film 3 months ago? Okay, like, don't hold this against me. I did try to film this exact video you're watching now in February, when I had a week off work. And this is when I had my old camera, so it was at the beginning of the week. And I sat down to film it and it just didn't go very well. But I tried to film this video in February, and here we are in now May. I'm actually trying to refilm it now that I've got a bit of time, it's sunny, and I feel motivated to do this video. Okay, I'm gonna put the iced coffee down. I don't want to like overload myself with caffeine. So I actually have like a Notion page that I wrote these notes down back when I was filming this, and I'm gonna use the same ones because I feel like they are very handy. And then we are going to talk about all the books that I think can help you get out of a reading slump. Anyway, let's just get on with the video because I'm here rambling. My first one is, if you are in a reading slump, or you're feeling yourself get into a reading slump, or the book you're currently reading is kind of putting you into a slump, don't force yourself to read it. Like if you're looking at a book and you're going, like literally if you're looking at a book and going, I really want to read this book, but I'm just not feeling it right now, take a break. If it's one of those books that you know you're going to want to read, however, you're not 100% sure about it at this current time you're reading and you're like, I'm not feeling it, put it down. Don't force yourself to read it, because you will put yourself in a slump. You'll probably not enjoy the book as much as you think you did. Like I'll tell you something, I was reading Icebreaker by Hannah Grace, and it's a book that I thought I was really excited to read it because everyone was talking about how good it was, and I was like, I've read the first 30 to 40% and I was like, I'm not feeling this. Like I think it was 33%. I was like, okay, look, I was doing it for a video that didn't make it out because the video got corrupted. I'm still heartbroken about it because I put so much editing into that, but it's not the point. I was 33% and I was like, you know what, I know I'm filming it for a video, but I can't, I need to put it down. I really can't, like it's gonna put me into a slump. And I think partly I was so excited for the next book I was gonna pick up. I was reading the last Akatar book and I was like, I'm so excited, but I want to finish. I was like, I'm not going to force myself to read it because I won't enjoy it as much. And I was like, I really want to see where people love it so much, and I want to see if I have that same hype, but I wasn't feeling it at all because I was forcing myself to read it. So I put it down and I was like, you know what, it's fine. But also, if you feel a book and you're reading it and you're like, I'm not going to enjoy this, just DNF it. Be brutal. Don't be like, oh, I don't want to DNF it. Like I know how hard it is. Like when I first started reading, I was like, I'm reading a book, I don't want to DNF it, I don't want to put it down, I don't want to stop reading it even if I'm like 10% in or 60% for it in. I have picked up Hook, Line and Sinker really recently, and I was like, this is going to put me into a slump, I can't read it anymore, so I literally DNF'd it. Don't be afraid to DNF a book, or don't be afraid to soft DNF a book, which means basically put it down and pick it up at a later date when you're really feeling the mood for it. Because some books are meant to be, like you have that feeling, actually I want to read it in summer, but you're reading it in winter and it's not giving it the same feel, so then you read it in summer and you're like, oh my god, why did I put this down? I felt that with Icebreaker. I put it down and then I picked it back up during my 24 hours of reading, and I was like, why did I put it down? I really enjoyed it. Like, just think about if you're in a life slump or a reading slump, or what's the word, genre slump, because I don't think genre slump is a word or a thing, but I think it is in my head. Because of genre slump, I think like sometimes I could read so much romance and then I'll be like, I'll pick up another romance and be like, oh, I'm really not feeling this. But then I go to pick up something like a dark romance, which is still romance but different, or I go to pick up a fantasy and I'm like, oh, I really enjoy this book and I don't feel like I'm in a slump in the same way. So I'm like, sometimes that really helps when you identify what kind of slump you're in, because sometimes you can be in a life slump where you're just in a slump with everything. For example, at the beginning of the year, I was in such a life slump. Like, from the ending of 2024 to the beginning of 2024, I was in a life slump. But it tends to happen at that same time every year for me. Not because I'm not excited for the new year. That time of year is usually my busiest time of year. Like, I work 2 jobs in December. It's obviously Christmas. You obviously make a time for I'm trying to have socialise, make time for friends, do work nights out. I'm working 2 jobs like constantly. Like I worked my normal 9 to 5, Monday to Friday every week in December. My normal 9 to 5, and I was working my other job as well. I did 95 hours of my other job throughout December. And like that usually happens every year. Not sure if that's gonna happen this year, so we might not get there this time. But usually at that time, December to the beginning of January, I get in a bit of a life slump. Because, and like, everything just feels a bit slumpy until it hits my birthday and I'm like, oh, excited. And then I get motivated to go, okay, like, we're gonna do this. We're actually gonna, like, focus on what I want to achieve this year. But, like, within that life slump, I went into a reading slump at the same time. Like, I just didn't want to read, I didn't want to pick up a book. And I will say Magnolia Park's Long Way Home kind of got me out of the reading slump, but I was reading it whilst I was in the reading slump as well. Like, that book took me a long time to read. Like, I think it took me 3 weeks to read that book, which is kind of like a bit disheartening when I usually read a book within a week to 2 weeks, depending on the size. Like, A Course of Frames I finished in a week. Into the Dark I finished 2 weeks, but I had a lot of stuff going on as well, like work-wise and nights out. That kind of got in my way. So it's fine. I kind of expected it to take me that long as well, because I was like, I wasn't doing it for a challenge. I was reading it for just a reader vlog. But anyway, that's on a tangent. But I went through a life slump, and that's the thing. I went through a life slump that put me into a reading slump. I wasn't in a reading slump because I didn't want to read. Like, I wanted to read, I just physically couldn't do it because of everything that's going on in my life, like how busy I was. I didn't have time. I just did not have time. I don't know if I've ever been. I feel like I could say I was in a reading slump before 2022 when I started reading again, because I didn't read at all from like the age of 21 to the age of 25. So from 2017 to about 2021, I just didn't read a book. And then I was like, nope, I want to read again. And here I am. So yeah, I think it's good to identify what kind of slump you're in, because identifying the kind of slump you're in will help you realise, okay, what do I kind of need to do to get out of that slump? Well, if you're in a genre kind of slump, change the genre, which we'll get onto a bit more depth in a minute. If you're in a reading slump, then try different tips and tricks. We'll get onto that a bit more because reading slump is the main reason for the video. If you're in a life slump, then it's kind of like why you're in a life slump, and that part I can't tell you. That's like, for me, it's because I was overly busy and I was overworking myself. I just didn't have time to do everything I wanted to do. That's physically it. Like, I don't just like reading. I love to read. I love to perform. I like to play games. Obviously, I edit videos, which I have to do to get up, and I was into and I also just love to watch films and watch YouTube. Do you know what I love about this time of year? Off a little bit of a side note, is having iced coffees and get to make my own iced coffees. I love iced coffee. Okay, I need to unlock my phone because I can't remember this. Okay, the next one is read on different formats. If you're in a reading slump, I just kicked the tripod. I'm going to turn my TV off. You know when you're like, something's distracting me and I know what it is? That. My other tip is read on different like formats. I do believe audiobook you can use towards your reading count, because you were still, as my favourite booktuber Ella Rose Reid says, you're still consuming the content, you're still consuming the words, you're still listening to a book, it's still reading a book, just as an audiobook, not physically. The audiobooks, if you, especially like Spotify Premium now added this thing where you get like 15 hours of listening, where you can listen to an audiobook. Put it on your way to work, your drive to work, your drive home, your way to your friends, your way to wherever you go, or when you're tidying your room, or cleaning your house, depending if you live at home, or if you're in my situation where I literally live at my parents' and I have my own room, and that's as far as I go to cleaning. When you're cooking, because I do love, sometimes I just watch YouTube, but I do love listening to audiobooks whilst cooking. The other day I listened to my book I'm reading now as an audiobook. great. The good thing about audiobooks, you can put the speed up to whichever ones you prefer. And I always go to 2x speed so I get the book done a little bit faster. If you've got this magical thing here, Kindle, my favourite thing to ever exist. If you've got one of these, use Kindle as well if you're finding holding a physical book difficult, or you're not wanting to pick up the physical book but you kind of want to read. Try a Kindle. I do understand if you haven't got a Kindle, you can be skeptical buying one, because they're not the cheapest things. They're not the most expensive, but they're not the cheapest things. It's cost me £150, which in hindsight, the amount of things I bought this year, like my camera and my MacBook, this was bought in October and it was cheap. I paid on 3 instalments, £50 a month. Not that bad when you think about it. However, it is still a lot of money. Like, that £150 could buy you clothes, food. So I do understand it. It's a lot of money to invest in if you're not sure if you're going to ever use it. But I'll tell you, this thing changed my life. The idea I get to put stickers on it, like, look at that, like the excitement, and there's so much range on Kindle. You've got Kindle Unlimited that you can read from. You can buy books on there as well. Like, I do buy a lot of my physical books on Kindle, which is bad because I'm spending more money. But like books that I think are very heavy, like Akata, like the final last books for Akata, they get thicker. Magnolia Parks, Binding 13, I bought on a Kindle to read because the book's chunky. Like, don't get me wrong, I do love holding a physical book, but reading a physical book when it's so chunky can get heavy. Having a Kindle really helps, but also it does really help when you're in a slump, because also there's stuff that you might not think about buying physically, and you might be like, I don't want to, but on Kindle Unlimited, then you go, oh, maybe I'll pick that up, and then you could fall in love with something different. Like, all your dark romances are usually on Kindle Unlimited, all the good ones. Well, not all good. Butcher and Blackbird loved it, but I found my all-time favourite book series / book on Kindle Unlimited during a 24-hour reading, because I didn't know what to read. I picked it up and I was like, obsessed. Like, obsessed. So I definitely recommend Kindle, and audiobooks are very handy to have. Why is my phone lighting up? Shh, can you turn your music down? I have found reading on Kindle and listening to audiobooks when I feel like I'm getting a bit slumpy really helpful, because then I'm like, okay, I want to read again. Like, recently, and I will say recently, I've been getting to that feeling of I'm getting into a slump. And I'm like, and I feel like it's a genre slump more than a slump, reading slump, because I want to read, but like, and I do want to read the book I'm reading, but I'm also like, but I do want to read fantasy, but I currently am reading specific books for a video currently that I'm like, I have to read these books and then I can move on to fantasy. But I have that feeling in my mind of like, I need something different. But different formats, very helpful, love them. Audiobooks are very handy as well, because the amount of times I have to go out the house, audiobooks are handy. When you're not with friends and you're just going out the house or walking to work, handy. I would say I usually do it walking home from work, not to work, because walking to work I'm too tired to even think about music, let alone an audiobook. Another thing I think, if you're getting into a reading slump and you're reading a book and you're really like going, oh, I don't really know if I want to read this, and what stuff, look up the aesthetic of the book. Like, look at pictures on Pinterest. What are you doing? I know it's sunny, but like, come on, I'm filming. I am going to get copyrighted. Let's hope I don't. Bear with, I'm going to try and close my window and hope that it's quiet, a little bit quieter. Okay, that did not make much difference. Let's hope I don't get copyrighted. We'll talk as loud as possible. Should I put my muffly mic things on? Probably, but no. Anyway, as I was saying, look at the aesthetic of the books. You've got Pinterest, your best friend for that. It gives you all the aesthetic. Also, go on BookTok and type in, for example, if I was looking for I'm trying to look at the Binding 13 aesthetics in case you want to read the book, I will put in like Binding 13 aesthetic, and then it'll like, you'll have videos of everyone saying, and it makes me want to read it more, because I'm like, oh, now I feel it, now I see it. Because sometimes putting pictures together to a book can sometimes help you get into that kind of mindset. Another thing is, if you can listen to music whilst reading, pick up, go to Spotify and look up a playlist for that book. Majority of the books, especially majority of the popular BookTok books, will have a playlist on Spotify someone's created. Look it up, put it on, listen to it, put your headphones on and read. Honestly, I will tell you, you'd think it's not helpful. Oh my god, it's so helpful. It gets me in the zone every time. I love it. I haven't done it much recently because I just wanted to read, but like when I'm like feeling a bit slumpy or like I'm in the book and I'm like, I don't really care, I will do that. I tend to watch a lot of YouTube whilst reading, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I do otherwise love listening to a Spotify playlist that's based on that book. I'm gonna have to open that window again in a minute. Like, I'm already. We spoke about genre kind of slumps, so trying different genres. I do really think, like, I used to be a full-on just romance girl, that's it. Romance girl through and through with a love of Harry Potter, so have the Harry Potter vibe, which kind of helped when I first got back into reading because I would read a Harry Potter book at times. So I read 3 Harry Potter books in 1 year, then I didn't read on for a whole year. And then we read 1 this year, which I'm really happy about. But then I was very much in my romance mood, romance girly mood. That's all I cared about. And then I discovered one fantasy book because I did it for a video. Like my first ever my favourite booktube is Choose My Next Read video, and Katie is Reading chose Kingdom of the Wicked. Well, she gave me 5, and I had one of the ones, other ones, but I was like, you know what, I want to try it. Let's try Kingdom of the Wicked, because I knew she did fantasy and I was not a fantasy reader, and I wanted to try it. So she gave that and I was like, I tried it, I ordered it, I fell in love with that book, and then I went on to my like little fantasy kick over the years since I started going back into reading. And honestly, there's different genre, like romance, dark romance. I feel like dark romance stuff fits into romance, obviously, like sports romance does. Excuse me, sports romance does. However, I feel like dark romance can in some ways be its own different genre because there's so much more to it. Then you get your fantasy, your romance even, and I would say I've read a thriller book, 1, so I can't even say I'm really into that genre because I only read The Housemaid by Freida McFadden, so. But yeah, different genres really help. Another thing, as I said, I watch YouTube. BookTube is a really good thing to do whilst reading. If you can pay attention to a book whilst watching a YouTube video, then yes. But even if not, like if you're feeling in a bit of slump, put your favourite booktubers on, or even just type in booktube or reading vlog and put someone you've not heard of before on, because honestly, I do that when I'm in a bit of a, feeling a bit, not sure if I want to read. I've typed in reading vlog, if I've caught up on every booktuber's video that I'm subscribed to and I love, I will then type in reading vlog and find something maybe I've not heard of before and just add to my list of favourite booktubers. It's very handy and it does really motivate me because also they can give recommendations that you're not thinking about, and then suddenly you go, I really want to read that book. Like, I was watching Sarah Caroni's video yesterday when she was doing like her book journal and stuff, and then she went to buy the Heartstopper series. She watched a YouTube video of someone talking about putting that on her TBR, and she was like, I really want to read that, and then she went out and bought it. Like, I know it means adding more to your TBR, but sometimes it can help. So yeah, I say booktube will really help. Wow, oh my god, I feel like I want to get to the books. I just want to get to the books. The last 2 kind of going with each other. Take it slow, don't rush. Trying to get through a book just because you want to get through the book to get to another one, because you're more likely to stay in a slump if you rush it. Like I said earlier, like if you need to DNF it or soft DNF it, do that. If you really want to read the book but you're like having a moment like, it's taking me so long to get through and that's what's putting you in a bit of a slump, don't rush it, because rushing it will just, you won't enjoy the book, you'll just be like, whatever, you won't remember what happens, you won't take it in, and you really won't, like, you'll just get more into a slump. And the final one, which sounds really silly considering I've just given you all these tips to get out of a slump, but I think one of the main things to do to get out of a slump is to accept you are in a slump. Accept you're in a slump so you can know, okay, how do I get out of this slump? How do I work on this slump? How do I work on myself to get out of this slump? And then you go through these tips and then maybe you'll get out of it. But I think you just need to accept it and sometimes just sit back, do something else, do something that is not reading. Like I say this as someone who reads from my YouTube channel. But just do something that's not reading. If you do YouTube, maybe do a video saying try to get out of a reading slump. Maybe do something that's completely different. Like if you like to do friendship bracelets, do friendship bracelets. If you do friendship bracelets. If you like to scrapbook, do a scrapbook. If you like to journal. If you like to play games like Animal Crossing, Sims. I don't really remember many other ones. Like Overwatch, I don't know if that's the thing. Call of Duty, that's the thing. If you like that, play it. Don't don't force yourself to read to try and get out of a slump, because sometimes that makes it worse. Just give yourself a moment. Like, try not to give yourself a year, like, or many years in between, because that's what I did and got out of it. But try and give yourself time to get out of it by doing other things that are not related to reading. Because I think if you're just constantly just reading, you're not going to get out of that slump. And that's just another tip that I didn't think about until I say it's such a slump. But anyway, now that I've given you my tips, we are going to move on to the books that I recommend to read to get out of a slump. Some of them are going to be more like author based, and I'm going to have other books that are not physically there, and I may just briefly talk about or just say check out their other books. But a lot of the books I say would help you get out of a slump if you haven't read them. I can't say that you probably haven't, because you probably have, because they're all popular book talk books mainly, apart from maybe one. So if you haven't read these books, I definitely say you recommend you go do it. But these are the books that I think can get you out of a book slump. I think everyone will have their own opinions. Some people will say the same. Some people might say no otherwise, I think. But this is personally what I think will get you out of a slump. So I'm not putting Magnolia. I've mentioned Magnolia Park several times in this video because I love it so much. But I'm not putting it in this because I don't think they help you out of a slump. They're so different, but they're also very, like, toxic in some ways. And there's a lot to it. And, like, oh, so much chocolate's gone down. You've got to love it to really enjoy it. You know, now that I've closed my window, they've stopped playing music. And, like, I need to open my window, I'm hot, but I can't remember to do that now until I've finished this. So, but anyway, let's talk about the books. We're going to go to the first two here because it's right in front of me. I've got Ugly Love and November 9 by Colleen Hoover. I actually was going to get rid of these yesterday and kept them, mainly because then I could use the pages from my journal, but also maybe I do want to reread them, I don't know. I've got It Ends With Us on my TBR, and the books I need to get to TBR because I want to reread it before the film comes out. However, I've got these two in my hands to show you, but obviously I would say a lot of Colleen Hoover books are very helpful to get out of a reading slump. I know not everyone loves Colleen Hoover now, and I'm not going to say it like a lie. I don't actually love her writing anymore as much as I did when I first started, but I think they're really handy because there's always something, like, it starts off all happy, you'll think it's all cute, and then there's something twist in it. And it just keeps you going and you want to find out. Like, I read this book in 24 hours. Like, and not like a 24 hours sitting there, I read it just in 24 hours. Like, I just couldn't put it down. Like, I wanted to know what was going to happen. I really, really enjoyed this book. Loved it. I love the cover. I just love the stories of these books. I think Colleen Hoover has a really good way to make you grip onto the books. And I don't regret reading these books. I think if I had read them after all the other books I've read in the last 2 years, maybe, and I picked them up now for the first time, I might be like, the average. But when I read these, started reading Colleen Hoover when I was back on my reading kick, and I was picking up what everyone was talking about, and I loved it. So I do think Colleen Hoover is a good one to get out of a slump with. Like, if I really, really wasn't a slump and I had to do something, I would probably pick up one of these books and just reread it. But really helpful. So these are November 9 and Ugly Love. You've also got It Ends With Us, Reminders of Him. I'm trying to think what ones I've read about. All Your Perfects. There's Hopeless and I don't remember what the second one's called because I Losing Hope, but I unhauled that book. I didn't like Hopeless, so I was not going to keep Losing Hope because I know it's written in Holder's point of view. But yeah, there's quite a few. She's got also like some like thrillers, Layla, Verity, which I've heard is I've not read it, but everyone hypes it up. But maybe when I want to try and get into thrillers a bit more, I might pick that up and just see. But yeah, I definitely think November 9 and Ugly Love, two very good. Two good books alongside It Ends With Us, It Starts With Us. Good to go for. Then we're gonna go for something. This is my all-time favourite book. Like, all-time favourite book, and I like anyone who's been watching my videos since I started doing booktube content will know I've talked about this so many times. I loved it. I've read it twice, watched the TV show twice, gonna watch it again at some point soon, and I'm gonna reread this at some point because I need to, but I just don't know when because I feel like I just have so many other books I want to reread and want to read. But it's Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I do think any of her books will be helpful, but I think this one was good, especially if you're like in a bit of a slump and you just kind of want to read a different type of book, because This is written in interview style. Like, you got, I don't think you can see it, but you got like all of their names that you talk in an interview style. It's such a different kind of writing style, and I think it's very helpful, and I loved it. And if you loved reading magazines like I did growing up, like I loved it when, like, you know, they do interviews with like One Direction or Taylor Swift or Katy Perry or anything like that. You read interviews and you're like interviewing the person's name, and I'm like, this is, I was like, that's, I love it. I was like so invested. I felt like I was reading a magazine about a singer and a band back in like the 60s, 70s. I loved them. I loved this book. Like, it felt so real. Like, I felt like they were a real band. I saw a TikTok the other week and someone thought they were a real band because he read the book, and it was like, I felt like it was a real band, and I'm like, no, it's fiction. And like, having a TV show makes it even more like feeling like it's real, because now you can read this. I can read this now and relate it to the TV show because I loved it. I love the TV show, love the book. Definitely recommend it. If you haven't read it, please read it. I say this for a lot of books, but I say this is literally my all-time favourite book in the whole world. Like, I have annotated this book thoroughly, like absolutely thoroughly. I love it so much. Like, the tabs, oh, I loved it. I love this book. Anyway, we could be here all day hearing me talk about that book. Oh, I'm going to put it on my floor. I know it's going to make my floor wet, but it's fine. Another one is, I didn't get all the books for this, but the Chestnut Spring series is my all-time favourite, one of my all-time favourite series, cowboy romance, you name it, love it. This is Flawless, the first book in the series. This is Heartless, the second book in the series. And then you've got Powerless, Reckless and Hopeless. I love the whole series as an overall a 5-star series. Did not love the last book, but I think if you're looking to get out of Slump, these books are just very easy to read, very fun to read, and if you couldn't, the covers are gorgeous, which makes it more want to pick it up. But the stories are amazing. I know these are very hyped up and everyone was talking about it last year, but I am not surprised as to why. I ordered the first 3 on TikTok Shop and fell in love. Just fell in love with the story. I can't tell you how much I like. I miss these 2 books. I miss being when I hadn't read them. Because these books are so good. So yes, the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver, 100% pick up. Like, if you don't, what are you doing? I wouldn't actually hate you if you didn't pick it up, but I do think that'd be really helpful to get out of a slump. Next one is the Off Campus series by Elle Kennedy. These are The Deal and The Mistake, the first 2 books. And then you've got The Score, The Goal and The Legacy. Which is, the Legacy is like an epilogue for all 4 couples, because this is a sports romance that follows 4 different couples. You've got Garrett Graham and Hannah. You've got John and Grace, or Logan and Grace. And then you've got Dean and Ali. You've got Tucker and Sabrina, and then you've got the Legacy that covers all of their like epilogues of where they are when they're like kind of grown up in the future. And I do love the series. I wouldn't say, like, the first 2 books are my favourites, and I did really enjoy The Legacy. The Score and The Goal were not 100% my favourite, however I did enjoy their books as well. But yeah, definitely I would recommend read these books. They're very easy. They're very easy to just read and to binge. So if you're like needing an easy read when you're like in a bit of a slump, pick these up. I read The Goal as the last book of my 24-hour reading, my last one you've seen, and I'll tell you something that just got me out of it. I was like, getting to that point where I was like, ugh. But I was like, I don't want to read anything, and I had like another like 6-7 hours to go. Picked it up, I was so excited, and I got through it. You know when you just don't know what to put the books you've already talked about? Then I have a book that was also one of my all-time favourites I have not reread since. This is really annoying, but it's fine. I've not reread it since. What time is it? I feel like I've been doing this for ages. 12:30. Things to do, guys. Anyway, this book I've not reread, but I loved it. Archer's Voice is I loved the book. I'm not going to give you too much of what it's about. You can do the research. This is actually a special edition came out that Mira Sheridan released, and I, hands down, when it was she put it up for pre-order, I cannot speak. When she put it up for pre-order, I hands down just went, go, I'm getting that rehat. Why did I do that? I knew I wanted this book more than anything in the world. After reading the actual paperback, I was like, I need this book. This is a special edition. It's an annotated special edition, and I love it so much. Like, look at that. And then if you take, I don't know why I'm showing you this because this is not like a book haul, but like, look at the cover. Like, look at that. Like, I have this on my bookshelf. Like, I don't actually have that much space on a bookshelf like most people do. So I keep all the books I've read in like a little box that's behind me. This stays out, but I love it. Definitely recommend it. Just want to go on that box. Then we have a book by Abby Jimenez. To be fair, I would recommend both the books in the series. This is the only two I've read of hers apart from a little like novella. There's The Friend Zone, which is the first book to this series. So I read The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez and then The Happy Ever After playlist by her. Both of them I would recommend, but if I would say start with The Friend Zone because you learn stuff about the main character in this book through that book. Because something that happens to her, tragically happens to her at the end of the last book, is what the start of this book is kind of about. And I feel like, yeah, you don't need to read it because they are standalone, so you would just hear what happened. However, I feel like you have more of a connection to the character in this book, and you feel in love with the character more. You feel because of that book. You followed her with her best friend Kristen, and then you get Sloane in this book, and you're like, I've seen you, I've heard about you from the other book. Like, now, it's such a good book. I loved it. I honestly think so. Both Friend Zone and The Happy Ever After playlist by Abby Jimenez. Go for it. I've heard so many good things about all of her other books, and I am planning to get to them very soon. So these I'm trying to figure out. We're going to leave the fantasy ones because there's only 3 till last, but I'm trying to avoid my Laura and Asher ones till last as well because they're my faves. The Twisted series, I've only got 2 here, but obviously there are 4 series set. You got Twisted Love, Twisted Games, Twisted Hate, Twisted Lies. All follow different people, but the girls are all best friends, and it follows their love story. So you got Twisted Love that follows Ava and Alex. Absolutely, I wouldn't say I love this book. This one was a very basic starting one. You can tell how long ago I read it because my annotation tabs were like sticking out, and I hate that, but it's fine. And then you got Twisted Games, which is my all-time favourite of the whole series. This is Bridget and Reese's story, and then obviously Twisted Hate is Jules and Josh, and Twisted Lies is Stella and Christian, and I loved all of them. But also, what is it with characters' names who are called Christian being dominant, or at least like Twisted Lies is kind of like Christian is dominant, and you got 50 Shades Christian Grey. I don't know, that's just my thoughts. I realised all my 50 Shades of Grey books are like behind my bookshelf because I found them before and I haven't moved them or got rid of them, so anyway, that's a random off topic. I cannot speak. Anyway, Twisted series, pick it up, read it, love it so much. I would do it, I'd read it again, 100%. And I think they'll be really happy because they're like, they've got some twists. They're a bit dark, but they're also cute romances, but they're dark romances in some ways. They've got a bit of like extra in it. Like there's a bit more twist to it. Like there's some mafia romance in there as well. It's good. It's good. Next one is a book that I don't think many people have heard of, but I absolutely loved, and it's The 7 Exes by Lucy Vine. This book, I read it for 24 hours of reading, but I was kicking my feet laughing through this book. Like, I couldn't stop laughing at this book, and I was like, this was just making me smile, and I felt like it's very relatable for, my battery's already dying because I've been speaking for so long. It's very relatable for young girls, not even young girls, but young people, like young adults, people in their like 20s, I think. I loved it so much. We're going to try and use fast because my battery's like running out, and I've got a few more bits to talk about. Then you got So You Swear by Megan Brandy. This is college sports romance. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I know there's a lot of no plot and a lot of just following the story through, but I really enjoyed it. Really, I think it's a really easy book to read, and just if you're in a bit of a slump, pick it up and read it. Don't be put off by the size. It's very easy to read. Then we have my favourite series of ever and all, my 6-star series, The Dreamland Billionaire series by Laura and Asher. These books got me through the last year, so I loved it so much. You got the fine print, terms and conditions, and final offer by Laura and Asher, and I loved these books so much. You got Rowan and Zara, Declan and Iris, is that her name? Yeah. And Cal and Alana in these books, and I love it so much. Then you've got another one by Lauren Asher, Love Redesigned. This was my 6-star read of this year so far, one of them. I have a few, but this was my favourite, my first one, and my favourite book I've ever read. Like, originally was my first 5-star read of the year, except it wasn't, because I actually changed Magnolia Long Way Home back to 5 stars, not back, changed it to 5 stars from 4.75, so. But yeah, absolutely loved Love Redesigned. So good. This follows Julian and Dahlia in the same place where the last book of the Dreamland Billionaire series is located. So, and then finally for dark romance, I've only got one that I recommend because I haven't got the other ones here and I'm not sure I recommend them anymore. But it is the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey. I think this will be really good. It's very dusty because it's been on top of my Harry Potter books, but fine. Can you see the dust flying? Because I can't. Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey. This follows a serial killer and a detective, FBI agent, I think. I don't really know what it's called, I've forgotten. Who is trying to hunt down this serial killer that ends up being her. And yeah, I love it. I am going to do a reread of it for a video soon. I don't know when, but soon, because I really want to actually annotate this book because I read it all on my Kindle. Right, look at this. It's like 5 books in one. Recommend it. And then finally we have 3 fantasy, well, like a whole fantasy series, only 2 of the books here, and a fantasy book that's got the second one and a novella out, second one coming out in July. So we got Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Now everyone is talking about this at the moment, and I did really enjoy it. I didn't love it, but did really enjoy it. But I think it's a really good fantasy book for people who are beginners into fantasy, but also loved like Hunger Games, Harry Potter, Divergent. This would be good. I think it's very handy. Like, not handy, like a very good book to just read, and it's really easy. And Kai, top 10. Love him. I was going to put Full Swing in it, but I was like, I'm not sure if that's a beginner kind of vibe. I don't know. Or not beginner, but like getting out of a slump kind of vibe. I don't know. So I put the whole ACOTAR series in it though, because 100% these books, love them. I miss them. I miss this world. I cannot wait to start the Throne of Glass series. I am literally hoping, praying that I can put Throne of Glass, or the first Throne of Glass book I read, into my June TBR and actually read it in June, because I really miss being in Sarah J Maas's world. And I know they're very different, but I miss her worlds and I cannot wait to get into it. But I really miss the series. Like, I'm having so much like sadness that I finished the ACOTAR series and I have to wait for the next book. But you've got A Court of Thorns and Roses, you've got A Court of Mr. Fury, which is the best book of the whole series, just saying. And you've got A Court of Wings and Ruin, A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is a little novella, and then A Court of Silver Flames. So good. And I think they're very easy fantasy books when you're in a slump to just pick up, because you'll just want to continue reading. So that is all the books. I did kind of rush near the end because my battery is dying and I've been talking for 23 minutes, so this video's going to be like long to edit. But if you did enjoy this video, then please give it a thumbs up, please comment down below, please subscribe, and please follow my social medias that are linked down below. And without further ado, I will see you again very soon with another video.